One, and thank you very much for inviting me here. Let me introduce a little bit about myself. I've been in the academia for the last 25 years, and I'm associated with one of the largest universities in Pakistan, public sector. I teach at University of the Punjab. It was established back in 1882, and since then, I've been teaching there. Apart from that, I've been, looking after a number of administrative departments within the university. I've been looking after the international office. I have run an independent center with the name of Regional Integration Center, where I closely worked with the Chinese embassy and the Central Asian embassies as well. With respect to the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative aspects, and my research area belongs to SDGs, and it is more inclined towards gender equality, occupational health and safety, and nowadays I'm quite rigorously working on climate-related issues. My specialization, despite of the fact it is in business, but it's quite connected with the social issues because, ESG is quite relevant nowadays. Just recently, I was bestowed another responsibility to look after the Career Counseling and Placement Center at Punjab University. And since Punjab University has 100 departments, so I have to cater the employment needs of a number of disciplines, starting from one side from humanities to the other side to pure sciences. So apart from that, I've been working with the World Bank project for some years on women empowerment. And based upon the experiences I have gained, I would be talking about those things that, where there is a disconnect and where we have to, really work hard when it comes to the youth. Because, in Pakistan, if we just look at the population of Pakistan, we have a youth bulge, which means that, we have a 60% proportion of our youth, and, there is a lot of uncertainty, what we can see, because when I look into the students studying in a public sector university, they're coming from highly underprivileged areas, and sometimes they don't have anything to look back. They just need to see how they have to improve themselves and to be able to penetrate in the market, and that is where the problem really begins, because the saturation in the job market and the employability challenges, it makes even more difficult, because the education system is one of the issues, because we've got two different streams of education. One is more towards the Cambridge system, which is for which our youth is quite a lesser proportion. But when it comes to a stream of a very different educational system, the biggest challenge is when most of the degrees are taught in English, so the students actually face a lot of issues when it comes to quality understanding the different subjects when it is being imparted in English language. So these are the certain things that I see as an academician also. So please, if you could just move. So that is one thing that I have discussed right now, the inadequate education systems. So there is two different streams of education system we are working upon, and there was a suggestion given to me by one of the academicians in the engineering department that we should start, inducting students only who have come from the O levels and A levels backgrounds. And that's so unfortunate and so discriminating, I think, because that means that you are actually depriving the biggest chunk of students who are coming from a different educational system. So this is one of the challenges. So we can see certain students who are very good at, critical thinking and reading and writing when it comes to English language, but there are then other students who come from a very different background. And then when it comes to higher education, this is the biggest challenge for the academicians also. So they are catering to levels of students within the class, and they're trying to bring, the use of, the pedagogies, which is actually conducive with, for both of the things. The second challenge, what I feel like the students who come, apart from the students who have passed out and the graduates, that means when we are talking about a youth, the next thing which we look into is the cultural issues. You know, you must be aware that in Pakistan, there's a lot of, stereotypes that these are the things that the females can do and these are the things that females can't do. And, despite of the fact that females are so much into education, but when it comes to employment opportunities, it's not about just getting the employment opportunities, but there are certain, barriers for them to penetrate in the job market. One of the things is, of course, the family systems. Some parents are very happy to take the students into a medicine education, but when it comes to penetrating in the medicine market or in the profession, there are a lot of barriers. You need a medical past female's daughter-in-law, but you don't wish to let her work in the job market. So these are the cultural issues. And when I was working with the World Bank and we were serving the HR representatives of different organizations, and we conducted a survey. And interestingly, even they were reluctant to induct females. And then when we asked what is the issue, they said that we have to invest more. And we are so uncertain that they might leave the organization as soon as they get married. Because, the cultural issues are that the employing organizations also feel reluctant. So despite of the fact that nowadays females are more into, breaking the stereotypes, you can see a female who have, climbed 7 summits, the highest mountains. So the thing is that things are changing, but in terms of the employability and the organizations, still we are seeing a lot of barriers. There's a report of ILO, and they talk about that if, for instance, if you bring 30% of your people working in an organization and 30% of females in the top-notch leadership positions, it can actually bring a lot of economic benefits and profits in the companies. But again, what we see is that the females are actually working in the lower or the middle level hierarchical structure, but in the top positions still it's not that common. So one of the issues with the youth is that, internationally, if you just look at the universities, they have a lot of opportunities for part-time jobs and for internships. But in Pakistan, even that thing is quite saturated. Nowadays, a lot of organizations have started, realizing the fact that there should be a part-time option also, because the students still struggle for, continuing their studies and along with the part-time jobs. So that is one of the things that the students are, just confined to the study patterns, and 1 or 2 internships cannot bring a lot of experience. So there should be an integration, a continuous integration of, the organizations and their work patterns being inculcated within the classroom settings as well. Then there's a need for lifelong learning as well. The things are rapidly changing. You look at the artificial intelligence and the way the technological changes are happening every now and then. So there was somebody who was asking me that after AI, a lot of things would actually vanish when it comes to employment opportunities. So I just asked, who gives the first prompt on GPT? So the question was, it was a human. So of course, actually looking into it as a threat, we should identify that it can give you a facilitating point of view also. So what I think about AI and things, I don't think it as a threat. I think it is there to aid the human beings, not to take over human beings. And one of the things that one of the professors I was listening to, he talked about that one thing that the artificial intelligence would take a little bit more time to adapt, and that is the emotional intelligence, the emotional quotient. And one thing that I was watching that Elon Musk's exhibition, and there was a robot, a female robot that was standing, and a lady came and she said, I hate you. And she said, excuse me, I don't understand what you mean. So that means that the kind of emotions and the emotional quotient that humans possess, that seems a bit, it would require a bit of time, you know, when the even artificial intelligence would also adapt for that. So economic challenges, as far as Pakistan is concerned, that is the biggest issue. I've seen a lot of market saturation during the COVID and post-COVID. And the thing was that because I was working with a employing organization platform at that time for the project, for the World Bank project, and since there was a lot of data coming in, so I just asked that there was a lot of, you know, shrink in the employment market, and there were a lot of layoffs. So then I asked, what kind of, you know, workforce is being fired the most? And they said that the most people who are fired belong to finance or accounts, because you've got now the technological softwares available. Then I asked in a different way. I said, who are the least people who get fired in this situation? So they said that there are two departments who are actually sustaining everywhere. One is the product development or service development, because that is where your business is coming, would come into, right? And the second thing is sales. And you know, since I have been working with the employment issue, I've seen a lot of students feel reluctant about sales jobs. And you know, there is a misconception about sales. They feel like that there are agents standing on the roads and selling something. It's not like that. These are the third party, you know, parties who are actually engaging certain people to sell their products or services. But sales is something where the growth of a student, if you just take up that as a profession, is not only long lasting, but gives you a big progression. So there is something that we have to think about, that looking into our expectations of the employing market, we have to see that where the competencies really are required and seen. Of course, one of the biggest challenge is the insufficient support systems. And you know, even I'm a mother, and when I think about that, what kind of you know, professions or maybe the kind of things that my kids would have to pursue. So I remember in class 7, my son came to me and said, I want to do engineering, but I don't know in which type of engineering I have to go. So I had to sit along with him, and we had to, you know, make a whole complete list of what are the different types of engineerings, and which engineering would actually land you in what kind of profession. So that is something, you know, because the issue is even the parents are ignorant about, and you know, there's a concept over here, either a student, either my child would become a doctor or an engineer. So that is something that is still, you know, prevailing. So we have to, you know, come out of this only engineer and doctor, you know, and so yes, so that is something, you know, we have to, first of all, we force our kids to actually pursue a profession, and later on they miserably fail. So there needs to be a collective action. So there needs to be a counseling facility where we have to bring the civil society, the organizations in question, the governmental support also at one page, to see that where would be the best places where our youth could land. And then, of course, investment in education is important, because, you know, the way the technology is changing, we need to give the students the opportunity to learn and learn. Unfortunately, if we just look at the, even in the academic side, if I just look at, because I belong to a public sector university, and I teach research methodology, I teach research application through different softwares. But very unfortunately, what I can say is we are just, you know, left with the crack versions. So, because, you know, people think that maybe these are not the places where to actually invest, and they don't take it seriously. So we have to use a word jugaad, which is actually, you know, I don't know how we could act, it might be something which is, we have to try on thinking different ways of finding the kind of support, and directly the organizations are not that supportive, so that is one of the things.